Dear aspirants, subscribers and the viewers, welcome to the IAS Mentor. This video would be in continuation of what we were discussing in the last video, where I shared my plan strategy as to what helped me in scoring 200 marks in the UPSC personality test, or what helped me in consistently securing around 70% or more than 70% of the marks in UPSC personality test. And in the previous video, if you watched, I told that there are 4 areas that I focused upon. So the first is understanding what UPSC personality test is all about. Second is the preparation phase. Third is the performance or the presentation phase. And the last is, of course, I also focused on a number of questions and the myths that is surrounding the UPSC personality test. Made sure that I'm not falling prey to any of these myths. I wanted to have a complete clarification about all the myths that is surrounding the UPSC personality test and not to worry about something which is not in my control. So these are all very clear in my mind as I was preparing for the UPSC personality test. So now in the last video I have told about as to understanding the requirement of personality test is the most important thing. And because that gives us a direction as to how we have to proceed, and in that we have also seen that the UPSC personality test was not just about assessing an individual for a specific skill set or his intellectual abilities, rather a board of competent unbiased observers or to observe whether a particular candidate is fit to be a civil servant, whether he is having the desired qualities to become a good civil servant. That is what is expectation. So I was very clear about all those things. So I focused on how to develop these qualities and how I can display these qualities in front of the board members. So it is also very clear from the UPSC notification. The notification very categorically said that the board of unbiased observers, the competent unbiased observers, are of course going to have a purposive conversation with the individual, and the very idea of this purposive conversation is to evaluate the candidate on various personality attributes and to see whether he is a person who is suitable for a civil servant. So that means they have to put across a series of questions. So now the idea is that where are these questions are going to come. So anyways, the board members have got a very broad background. So if they have to ask, they can ask questions from anywhere, but that is not going to make the candidates comfortable. And in order to assess the personality traits of an individual, first you will have to make the candidate or who is being assessed should be in a very comfortable position. So it is quite clear that most of the questions may come from what is called as a detailed application form. So this is what was my idea, and that is also what is exactly happening. So most of the questions for the interview in the personality test which has been pointed towards the candidates is likely to come from the detailed application form. So in fact, in all my interview, when I have gone at least for 3 interviews in UPSC, so in all my 3 interviews, the questions have come, 80% of the questions more or less were coming from the detailed application form. So that doesn't mean that the questions may not come from outside, but it's a general logic that the questions are likely to come from what is called as a detailed application form. So in this video, when I have to start and share my plan as to how I planned my preparation, my preparation was completely planned based on what I have given in the DAF. So I prepared on each and every single word that is given in the DAF. I made sure that I could answer from each and every single word in the DAF if there is a question. So I was very proactive in terms of developing a lot of questions from the DAF and preparing an answers for all those things. So that is what I have done very carefully and meticulously. I'll just come back to this particular area. But before I proceed to this particular area, one of the key to success when it comes to the preparation phase is also what is called a start early, which means 90% of the candidates who are appearing for the UPSC interview, as far as I've seen when I was preparing as a student and then what I see as a teacher right now, in both the cases, I see that 90% of the students think about the personality test only after the mains result is announced. But that is not an ideal way to start the UPSC interview or the personality preparation, because you know that anyways you will have to go to the personality. So the students who start early actually have an edge. So what do I mean by start early? Start early means you know that how the UPSC interview is going to be. Once you have that particular idea, probably you can work on your communication skills. I'm not saying that it is the communication which is going to get you the best marks, but communication plays a very important role, because it is through a communication you are exactly going to communicate as to what you think in most of the cases. So probably you can take care of your communication skills, probably you can take care of your personality development. So for example, some of the qualities like officers like quality, although that is not given a much of importance probably in alone, but as you enter into the UPSC room, or as you enter into the day on which you are being interviewed, a lot of things probably can decide as to what kind of mark is given to you. So from our side, we should take care of all those things. So when I say start early, it doesn't mean that you will have to work on your DAF. When I say start early means you should work on all these peripheral areas, especially probably your communication skills. That is what I'm trying to say, and probably the other personality attributes which can play a very important role to decide as to what kind of marks might be awarded to you. So start early is the first thing. Okay, start early. If you have done, then it is going to give an edge. But once the result is declared, probably. So from where do you start your preparation? If you ask me this particular question, it is basically your DAF, that is your detailed application form. That is when I said detailed application form, presently there are detailed application form 1 and probably 2. So you'll have to focus on both the detailed application form 1 and 2, which is given as a part of your personal information. I think most of you would have filled your personal information as a part of this detailed application form 1 and 2. Even the other information that is part of it. So I would classify this detailed application form and the information presented in these forms, including both 1 and 2, as different types of information. One is related to completely your personal information, which is right from your name, probably your home place, details about your family. So these are all your personal information. Second is related to your educational informations. So what is from where you have done your schooling, probably what is your graduation, post graduation, so whatever it is, these are all your educational qualifications. Now the third information would be basically your UPSC related, so probably your optional subjects, probably how many attempts, whatever it is. So these are the third areas. And the fourth area that you'll have to focus on your work experience. If you got any work experience, that's a very, very important area. Probably UPSC can ask a question, because these are all the areas where UPSC, when they ask a question, which will try to reflect upon your personality. So they can put you across these questions. And then the last area I would say is your hobbies and interest. One of the most important area, definitely the questions are likely to come. So you can segregate your DAF into these areas. And how do you prepare on these areas is basically through what is called as W questions. I would say 4 W questions and 1 H question is basically what you'll have to work on. What, when, how, where, and how is basically the questions that you have to work upon in each and every area. Say for example, the board can ask you as simple question as, why do you want to become a civil servant? So it is a very simple question, but unless and until you have a thought process, unless until you think about it, unless until you have practiced it probably a number of times, you may not give it to your best. You will definitely answer for this particular question. I'm not saying that you will not be able to answer it, but your best will come probably you have given a lot of thought process to it. And it should be more or less very genuine. It should be, I would say, unique, because you cannot just reproduce what others have said or whatever you have learned. So it should be more unique in the way that you present it to them. So all these things are going to come from what is called as practice. Say for example, they can ask you simple questions from your DAF, because in your DAF the personal information is there, maybe your district is there. So they can ask you questions, what are the problems that you see in a district? It is just to see whether you have an awareness of what is happening around you, because probably you are going to be part of the civil service. The moment you say some of the problems in your district, probably they can ask you that if you are a district collector or if you are probably part of the administration in the district, how would you handle these issues? So basically the questions are going to be very simple, but these are the questions which will be useful for the board members to assess your personality attributes. So I would say that the moment you start preparing for the interview process, you take up your DAF, divide the DAF into number of areas, as I already said, and then start preparing a lot of W questions. Why, where, when, what, how. And I would say that you should prepare at least 1000 questions from these areas. Don't think that 1000 questions is a very high number. Probably you will end up even doing more once you start doing this exercise. So every word probably that is there in your DAF, try to put some W questions and then try to think an answer for these questions. And then if you make an answer, probably you think that what kind of counter questions probably may arise. So you should anticipate all those things. Unless and until you anticipate all those things, you will not be very comfortable in the interview process. Believe me, once you anticipate and you keep preparing a lot of questions in this particular way, automatically your confidence level will be very good. You will be very comfortable in the interview process. This doesn't mean that you will have answers to all the questions. I'm not saying that. In fact, the board members are not expecting that. The board members are not expecting answers for all the questions that they ask you. In fact, they only try to assess your personality attributes for whatever question that you answer, and that will be very good. Probably you will keep doing this particular exercise. So this is one thing that has extremely helped me. So one is I divided the DAF, I created a lot of W questions along with that H questions. I prepared answers for them. I anticipated follow-up questions, and some of these follow-up questions and anticipated questions were asked to me. So it can happen to you also. That puts you in a lot of confidence and in a very comfortable position during the interview process. I did not stop there. Then once I covered my DAF, I have also taken up the current affairs. Of course, I have not gone for the random current affairs. So what I have done is I picked up certain current affairs which is more or less relevant to my DAF. So they were given the highest priority. So whatever current affairs probably is related to my DAF, that was given a highest priority. In addition to this, I also focused upon certain current affairs of national, international and probably regional importance. So those current affairs were also picked. But unlike how you prepare for your probably the mains or the prelims examination, most of the current affairs, whatever you prepare at this particular stage, it should be more of what is called as a opinionated answers that you have to prepare. So for example, the board members may not be interested in knowing what is called as a fact in a particular matter. The fact in a particular matter does not reflect your personality. It probably reflects as to how good you are in updating yourself, nothing more than that. Or probably how good are you in remembering certain things. But the questions might be directed in such a way that they wanted to know what do you think about that particular matter. What is your opinion on a particular matter? So in most of the cases, try to develop this particular habit that you have an opinion on this particular matter. That is again very, very important. Okay, when I say this particular thing, some of the students have asked me, is it okay that probably we can be critical of the government policies or decisions probably when something is given, because where we have to give our opinion. I'll take up all these questions when I take up the Q&A session, that when I take up the lot of questions and myths that is surrounding the personality test. But right now, this particular video is focused upon what is a strategy during the preparation phase. Alright, so focus on your DAF, each and every single word. Sorry. Once you focus on your DAF, then the current affairs. So once you focus on your DAF and the current affairs, so that is why it is also very important as to what you have filled in your DAF. So you have to be very careful in whatever you are filling in your DAF. But anyways, for the students who have already done it, so now nothing to think about it, but you keep preparing on whatever you have filled in your DAF and the current affairs. And the next thing is the interview transcripts. So if you have access to interview transcripts, which I know that most of you might have access, it's freely available. So you can look into the previous year interview transcripts and just go through it. But one of the biggest problem with this interview transcript is do not put yourself in all the questions that is asked in the interview transcripts. Do not get demotivated with the kind of questions that has been asked in the interview transcripts. Do not generalize that these questions are likely to come to me also. That is not the true way that you'll have to think about. So why? Because we do not know what is the background of a particular candidate who has been interviewed. So sometimes that background is not given there. We do not know what kind of conversation they had. We do not know why that particular question was asked that particular moment. We do not know what was the current affairs that was happening at that point of time. So do not think that all these questions might also come to you. But I would say that the questions which are general in nature, probably why you want to become a civil servant, how would you address the issues of unemployment, these are all general questions that can be pointed at anyone. If there's a very technical question, we do not know what is the technical background of a particular candidate. So we actually don't have to worry about it. So If you take all those things very seriously, that puts you in a lot of disappointment, and that puts you, and sometimes it can reduce your confidence also. So don't go to that particular extent. Try to see what are the possibilities that it can come to me, and to that extent you can filter out those questions. And you can also start thinking on certain areas. Probably you feel that these type of questions can come to me also. Even if you are not sure, or even if you don't have an idea, you can prepare on those areas also. That is all fine. But don't think that every question can be asked to you. That may not be the case. And secondly, even if certain questions are asked to you where you do not have an answer, there's absolutely no need to worry. The board is not going to reduce the marks just because you have not answered to the questions. Especially when it is a fact oriented question, probably, let us assume. So they are not going to worry much about it. But if it is an open ended question, probably, which is an opinionated question, so there probably you should have something to say, because the idea is they wanted to see how you process this information, how do you think about a particular question or a dilemma that is given to you. So those are all the areas where you'll have to answer. Again, I'll talk a lot about this when I take up the questions and the myths related to the personality test. So what you have seen is, first start early and then prepare on your DAF, break up your DAF, put a lot of W questions. And apart from that, you can go for the current affairs which is related to you, or certain specific current affairs of regional, national or international importance. And then of course you can go for the interview transcripts also. And in addition to that, I will also say what is called as the mock interviews. You should also do a lot of mock interviews. I wouldn't say a lot of mock interviews, but at least selectively you can go for 4 to 5 mock interviews, maybe a little more if you are okay with that. Why mock interviews? Because these mock interviews gives you that experience of tackling those questions. You are put in a similar situation. I won't say it is an exact situation, but a similar situation where you are taking a lot of questions where you did not anticipate, which is likely to happen in your real interview also. So some element of these experience will help you to put yourself at ease when you go to the interview. So it will help you to calm your nerve to perform do well in the interview. So these are all the positives of the mock interviews. But the mock interviews themselves have certain side effects, I would say, or unintended side effects probably, which I'll discuss again when I discuss about the questions and myths surrounding the personality test. But right now I'm not going to that particular area. So to put it in a very short manner, what are the things that probably you should focus on your preparation phase? So first is start early, possibly. 2 is focus on your DAF, and then break up your DAF, create a lot of questions, answer to those questions, anticipate questions from those answers. And then of course current affairs which is related to you. Mostly try to have an opinion on all these current affairs and the issues that is related to you as a person preparing for UPSC. And then of course you can look for the interview transcripts, and then you should also go for a lot of mock tests. You keep doing this, which actually helped me to do well in my interview. In the next video, I'll come up and I'll discuss the next important stage, that is what is called as the performance stage or the presentation stage, which I would say that on the day of the interview. So what are the things that you'll have to keep in your mind? What are the do's and don'ts on the day of the interview? That is again very important. So I'll do the next video on that particular thing. In the meantime, if you want to reach out to me related to the UPSC interview preparation, you can reach out to me through my Instagram account or through my Telegram channel. And the ID for both of them is Babu_IAS_337. Or also you can fill your personal details in the Google Forms below, which is given in the description there also. So that is also a way that you can reach out to me. So keep watching the videos. Thank you very much. All the best.